I thank the gentleman from Florida. I thank the gentleman from Florida for yielding and for pulling this special order together here, and bringing out this case is something that a lot of the American people aren't going to realize what's taking place here if we don't have this discussion here. It takes leadership in this Congress to do this. I appreciate the strong voice of Mr. Perry and Mr. Weber. Here's where I look back at it this way. In my first trip to Israel sometime more than 10 years ago, I looked across at what was taking place from the Israel proper and West Bank, the Palestinian area, and went through the briefings and saw the data of a culture of people that raise their little girls to put on these fake suicide vests in order to make sure that they entrench deeply in them a hatred that's multi-generational hatred towards Israelis, Jewish people. Now, why? It's not a rational thing for a culture and a civilization to be so full of hate. And yet, all they really need to do is accept the existence of Israel, and a lot of us, this resistance we have within us would start to dissipate. It wouldn't be gone because you don't just accept somebody's word as has such a history of doing what they've done. But the hatred goes deep. And I think of Congressman Gohmert of Texas. Standing here tonight, he would say, "You don't have to pay people to hate you. They'll hate you for free." And so all of these billions of dollars, $5 billion over since 1988, as Mr. Yoho just said, and the idea of trying to trade off land for peace, and what you get back is a poke in the eye with a sharp stick in a more violent and a bloody and a brutal way. And you see that there is a fundraising mechanism worldwide that pours dollars into the Palestinian Authority, and they use it to pay the payroll of people that are sitting in a prison for crimes against, let me say it this way, crimes against humanity, not necessarily the technical definition of the convictions that they have. Who gets a payroll check for demonstrating hatred, acting on it in a kinetic fashion, being locked up to protect the rest of society, and then being paid and rewarded for that? This is an appalling circumstance, tapping into the United States of America, where we have to think about this. If we want to pay people that hate Israel, who are prisoners for committing crimes, and we grant that over to the Palestinian Authority in our foreign aid package or whatever particular line item it might be, so we have to go to China and say, will you loan us some money so that we can run it through our treasury, so we can funnel it in to go in to pay people that have been in any measure of decency. What they're committing is wrong. They need to have their hearts softened. They need to raise their children to love their neighbor and as they love themselves. And they need to understand that there's a good functional government going on in Israel proper, and still likely the only place in the Middle East where an Arab can get a fair trial is in Israel.
That's right.
Where Arabs serve in the Knesset, where they serve in the Supreme Court, where they have the rights of land ownership. That's the way you run a country that has a multidimensional ethnicity and religion in it.
Would the gentleman yield?
I'd yield.
So based on this, how should our Israel? How should the people of Israel view us, knowing that this is happening and knowing that no one outside these four walls right now is talking about this? How should they view us?
Well, I think they'll view us as a foolish country that doesn't understand our priorities, and we don't understand where the money's coming from and where it goes. But I would say this call out, Mr. Netanyahu, why don't you just ask us to take that money and give it to Israel instead? Give it to the people that are promoting peace, the people that are surrounded by enemies throughout, the people that had to stand there and face the all-out attacks over and over again. They are a democracy in the Middle East, a stabilizing force in the Middle East, and if we allow them to be weakened, and sometimes by the willful actions of this administration, if we allow them to be weakened, if they collapse, so does a lot of freedom in the Middle Eastern part of the world. It threatens Europe, and in the end it threatens us. So our safety and our security is tied together. We need to protect our brethren who believe in freedom, who believe in the form of democracy, and we need to encourage that everywhere in the world. Good people in the Palestinian lands. There are good people there. They need to have good leadership, and if we give them the right incentive, they're going to perhaps produce good leadership. But if we pay them to hate people, there's going to be more people hating people. I think we should turn that money back around and reward the people that don't, those who need to be defended. I yield back to the gentleman from Florida.